Hey everyone, so in today's video I'm finishing the art I started in Wednesday's video. That video was about the art goals I set myself for 2018 and whether or not I met those goals, so that was an adventure looking back at all my failures. Yeah, so today I am coloring the art that I sketched and inked in the last video. It's based off of the new Pokemon game that's coming out, Pokemon Let's Go Pikachu and Pokemon Let's Go EEVEE. I'm getting the Pikachu game because I just love Pikachu so much. And this art is based off of Pikachu versus EEVEE, or Team Pikachu versus Team EEVEE, however you want to look at it, because there are two games, and so there's almost like a little rivalry of whose team are you on. And the reason I'm doing this art is because today's video is a YouTube Artist Collective video. That is a group of us artists here on YouTube who make art based on a common theme, and you guys vote for the theme over on our Facebook page. I'll have a link to that down below. And you guys voted for versus, and so that could be really anything, like good versus evil, light versus dark, whatever you want. So I thought, oh, Team Pikachu versus Team EEVEE, that'd be cute, especially since the game is being released in a week, so I'm really excited for it. So that's what I'm doing, and it's a bunch of Pikachus and EEVEEs just going at it, not in the perverted way. They're attacking each other, and I was torn at first because I thought, okay, do I want to do sort of a half and half art where it's split diagonally, so it's like a group of EEVEE coming at a group of Pikachu? That was a pretty cool idea, but then I started thinking of ways they could be interacting with each other as if they're already in the midst of clashing, and things like the EEVEE biting the Pikachu's tail. Once I thought of that, I was like, I have to do it. I can't split it half and half. I feel like they have to be all together, just scrambling and fighting, so that's what I went with. And I inked this with one of my Pentel pens. I think it's Pentel because it has the little logo on it, but I can't read what it says on the pen because it's all in Japanese or something. But it's not the Pentel Pocket Brush pen. It's not the one with bristles. It has a solid nib, but it's just really nice because it's shorter and more firm than the one with bristles, and so I could control it a little bit better. Initially I started inking it with, what's it called? Just like a regular fine liner. It's actually a 0.1, a really thin one. Usually I go 0.3 if I'm using a multi-liner, but I thought, oh, really thin line art might look good with this, but I'm just horrible at really thin line art, and all my 0.1 liners, the nibs are kind of split and broken, and so it wasn't working out. So I went completely to the opposite end of the spectrum. I went with a brush pen, which makes really thick lines. So that's where we're at with that. And it's on my Hammermill paper, like always, 100-pound cover. And for the coloring, obviously there's lots of yellow and brown because it's EEVEE and Pikachu, so I was picking out colors in advance. And I knew I wanted some kind of interesting lighting because this is pretty simple art. Like with my Halloween art, the trick-or-treating buns, it's a very simple cartoony style, so I tried to spice it up with interesting lighting. Like there was yellow light coming from the houses and shining on the bunnies, and it just made it a little more interesting because the characters are simple. I mean, the art overall wasn't that simple because there was a lot of detail in it, but still, I thought that was an interesting combo, and I wanted to try the same thing with this, going with some red in the highlights, which was my R01, and then some blue in the shadows, which is mostly B01, and then also some B02 once I moved over to EEVEE. I feel like I'm using my hands a lot because my elbows are on my armrest right now. The trick though is when I'm adding blue to shadows, it sometimes ends up looking muddy, and so I was trying to avoid this. It seemed okay in my tests, especially once I add the blue background in the end. The blue makes more sense on them, but yeah, I think it looks okay. It's still pretty blue. Once the colors start to get gray, that's when it's getting too muddy, and usually that happens if you're mixing too many colors, or if you layer two complementary colors, they normally produce gray, and so it'll look muddy. But I think it's pretty okay, especially once the background comes in. So for Pikachu, I used those colors I just mentioned, plus I used the Y10s for the yellows. I think the brown was the E35 or E37, because I also used the E30s for EEVEE, and then for the light part of EEVEE, I used E40 and E41. My E40s are some of my favorite browns, but they're all dead right now, except for E40 and E41, because that would have been another option for the EEVEEs, but I went with the E30s. But those were also a struggle because the E35 and E33 have about the same value. Like they're the same darkness. It's just that the E33 is a warmer, more reddish brown. And so when I'm trying to make a gradient from like E33 to E35, or E31 to E35, the 33 is not an in-between color, and so it made it very difficult to try to blend. So I had to fight with that. Plus, I was trying to pick colors that I actually had refills for, because there are lots of Pikachus, lots of EEVEEs. I didn't want to run out of marker partway through. So yeah, that affects my decisions actually a lot when I'm coloring. I'm like, well, which ones do I have refills for? Because I'm gonna go with that. So I really need to expand my refill collection so that I'm not afraid to use half my markers. Even though I'm Team Pikachu, I tried to keep it a pretty even split between which EEVEEs are getting beat up and which Pikachus are getting beat up, because I didn't want to come across as biased, but I am biased. I like Pikachu more. And there is a Pikachu using Iron Tail, which is why there is a white tail left uninked. I'm not sure if that was really clear in the last video, because in my last video I didn't talk at all about the art, so I'm like, this will probably confuse people, but I tried to gesture to the light blue outlines I did to be like, this is purposely not inked. But yeah, there's a Pikachu using Iron Tail, and then there is a Pikachu using some kind of thunder, or like electric attack, like thunder, thunderbolt, thundershock. Well, not thundershock. That's the weak one. It's probably using like thunderbolt, because that's my favorite electric. I can't speak. It's my favorite electric attack. It has good accuracy, but it's still pretty strong. Whereas thunder, you know, I hate low accuracy moves. Is anyone else the same? Like, I will use a weaker move that has better accuracy. I need my 100% accuracy. Also, back to the Iron Tail. If you're wondering why doesn't the tail look metallic, well, in the anime, usually Pikachu's tail is white, glowing white when it uses Iron Tail, so that's why I went with that. And then I used a little bit of white pencil around the tail to help it look a bit more like a glow. The EEVEE in the center of the art is using Scratch. I'm looking down because I'm trying to look down at it. Then there's the EEVEE in the top right corner, which is using Swift, which is why you see stars. Then there's a Pikachu with the boxing gloves just punching an EEVEE. It could be an attack. It's not really meant to be any specific attack. It's just boof, punching him. The EEVEE biting Pikachu's tail, I guess, is using Bite. That makes sense. And then there's an EEVEE with a sword, just because I didn't know, or like a dagger, whatever you want to call it. I didn't really know. I just thought that would be an interesting thing. I thought nunchucks, but I thought that wouldn't really read well, so I thought, okay, how about just a little knife? But I didn't want it to be actually stabbing the Pikachu, so in my mind it's thrusting it towards Pikachu, but Pikachu's kind of dodging. It's not actually being stabbed, because I thought that would just be a little too dark, even though when you think about it, Pokemon just is very violent and dark and not good. Then we have the Kicking Pikachu. There's an EEVEE right beside the Kicking Pikachu where you just see its tail. That's kind of just random to fill space. There's also an EEVEE just kind of above diagonally from the one using Iron Tail. That one also is just to fill space. There's just a little too much space showing. And then there's a couple at the very bottom right that again are just random, a random Pikachu and a random EEVEE just to fill space. It's tricky because I was drawing this traditionally, and at one point I wanted to give up. I drew the middle Pikachu, the middle EEVEE, and then I went to try to draw another pair next to them, and I almost gave up. I whipped out my iPad. I was like, this is something I have to draw digitally so I can easily slide around all the characters so they all fit together nicely. And the iPad was dead, and I was like, Baylee, you know what? This is a sign. You should just finish it traditionally, especially since that video, my last video, was just the sketching and inking. I felt like I wanted it to be traditional, and so I fought through it. I did the sketch, and then once the sketch was done, I was looking at it thinking, I don't like this at all. Which is odd because now I like it, but at the time I just thought, oh, this is not good enough to be a video, especially not a YouTube Artist Collective video, and I wanted to trash it, but I was running out of time. I was like, no, like I need to do the sketching and inking today, so I have to move forward, and I'm glad I did because I actually do really like how it turned out in the end. Now, I just want to give you guys a little tease about my next video because I'm so excited for it. It's gonna be a skit. So you guys really like when I incorporate little skits at the beginning of videos, and sometimes it's hard to plan ahead for, especially if I'm limited on time, but this one's gonna be pretty much entirely a skit. There's technically art involved, but the art's kind of secondary to the skit, and it involves another YouTuber, not actually the YouTuber, but me pretending to be the YouTuber, and I think It's gonna be good. That's all I should say. That's all I'm gonna say. Just hyping you up for next Wednesday's video, assuming everything arrives and I can film it in time. I'm excited. I probably shouldn't even be teasing you, but isn't that what YouTubers are supposed to do? Like hype up their next content so everyone gets excited? Probably. Speaking of content, I just want to say I'm so excited to be back because October was such a mess. I know I touched briefly on this in my last video. I just kind of mentioned it in passing at the end, but October was such a busy month for me between Fan Expo, which the table I got at the last minute that I had to prep for furiously, and then I spent a week working on my costume for Halloween. Then I was gone out of town. I went to TwitchCon, went to Disneyland. It was a great time, but it stressed me out at the same time because I was not here making content and I didn't post videos when I should have in October because I'm at the 2 videos a week schedule currently, and I could barely even get up 1 a week, and I felt so rotten about it. You guys, you have no idea how much it eats at me when I miss uploads because I'm very anal about hitting my schedules. Like those are my deadlines, and Baylee meets her deadlines. And so when things come up where I can't physically do it, I get very stressed out. And I know my new rule is when I travel, I don't upload, but because I was so spotty for early October, I felt like I had to post while I was gone, at least 1 video. And so, oh my God, I just feel good to be back basically because I felt very guilty for skipping out on content. But I also want to say thanks to you guys because no one sent me angry tweets or anything being like, where's the videos? You guys are all super nice about it. But I'm officially back and everything's good and back to my regular stream schedule, upload schedule, so everything's good. And thank you guys so much for watching. I hope you enjoyed the EEVEE and Pikachu art. Let me know what one's your fave. Let me know if you're Team Pikachu or Team EEVEE. And I will see you in my next video.